back with Andreas again. Andreas of Austria, the great Austrian who's found a job, working, off unemployment, the coronavirus unemployment, right?
Yeah, I was not looking very hard for a job because I was still hopeful that I could go back to Burma, work on the island. But now it seems the coronavirus is making it impossible. Yeah, to work in fields that are actually still kind of enjoyable. So now I'm working, in a warehouse, and because you're working on a project actually for more than 10 years, I think already. You asked me to do this podcast with the topic today. I think we have actually a topic we want to talk about, which is working very hard, of course, in working class jobs, right?
Well, you and I have discussed in the past working class low paid jobs because we've both done them, and there's definitely a particular type of person that does these jobs as compared to an office job or one of these middle management jobs, these corporate jobs. You know, all those other jobs where you have to sit in front of a computer screen and send emails and have conference calls. When you're working in a warehouse, you don't have to worry about any of that. But I think you have some ideas about working people. We've discussed it in the past. We felt that working people were more honest than the middle management people.
Yeah, but maybe you tell the listeners why you came up with the idea to do this podcast, because you're about to finish your newest book, right? Or it's actually one of the oldest, right. But it's a new revision.
It's the oldest book, but it's the first, and the Home Depot stories. It's just called the Home Depot now, but it needed a preface and it needed a couple more stories that needed to be revised, and I think it's a complete book. It has a unity to it now that I see that I didn't have really in the earliest version, but I haven't really changed anything. It's all as I wrote it. So it's still funny.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Still funny.
When is it ready? Ready for shipment? One book to Austria. I'm looking forward to read them again with the new stories.
Yes. Well, there's at least 3 stories you haven't read, and I know you're gonna be looking forward to that. But it should be. I need right now to do another look through of the manuscript. I'm gonna probably do that this weekend. Yeah, I may do it again next weekend, but I also need to start working on the book design, because it's going to be. I have some ideas about the book design, but they're not clear in all aspects yet. I still don't know what the size of the pages is going to be, the font.
Yeah, definitely.
There are a lot of aesthetic decisions.
I don't think it should be as big as the Hampson book. You know, it should be a much smaller one,
No.
A portable one, because you want to carry it around to everywhere you go, right?
It should be small enough that a working man can keep it in his pocket while he works.
But you plan to hand bind it again?
Oh yeah,
okay.
It's going to be hand bound.
If you send me one, then please don't send me the one with your blood on it.
I'm going to send one with some truck grease, some grease from like a fifth wheel, stained a finger. That would be great. A greasy fingerprint. That would be the best autograph for this book.
That's beautiful.
A greasy fingerprint.
I like that idea. Maybe you can, how do you call it? The prints of a forklift truck wheel, something like this.
Oh, every book should be driven over by a forklift.
Yeah, I mean, just to give the reader the impression.
No, but personalizing it. But what if I personalized every book with like I took my thumb and I dipped it into some grease that's put on the fifth wheel of a tractor trailer, and I put a thumbprint in the first page. That would, because obviously it's. The counterfeiters in China who try and counterfeit this book, they will never be able to make my thumbprint with a greasy thumbprint.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think it is a good idea. I'm gonna stick my thumb in some grease when I go back to work.
Not too much, just a little bit.
Well, maybe the readers should get a little grease on themselves. They need to get dirty. All these. The problem with that book is that it's written about people who will never read that book.
Yeah, that's
the people who will read this book are the wrong audience. It's just It's a book that makes very little sense. You're the only one who can appreciate this book because you're the only working class person who reads.
I'm not too sure about this. But because you just said I'm a person that appreciates it. I think actually our friendship is based on, or its foundation. The book is part of our friendship's foundation. I think actually. Because when I met you in Colombia, you were sending me these short stories of these guys. I just seemed to like them very much. And for me, they were very likable anyway. So it's very hard for me to understand that other people will not like them. So I'm very hopeful. Maybe you will change your mind and make more than 60 books or 70 book this time.
Well, it will depend upon the printer. The printer kind of, they quote me a price, and I feel like the price is based upon these big sheets of paper which are cut down. And I tell them I want a certain amount of copies, and they always print more than I wanted. And I think that's a result of the pages. They're going to print as much of the pages of pieces of paper that they have, and as many complete books as possible.
So what is special about this paper?
Well, there's nothing special about it, but it comes in these big sheets, right? So the sheets have to be cut down. So I give the printer the dimensions of the book, and they cut all the sheets down that they ordered. And if they have a lot of extra sheets, they just print up a bunch of extra books. And so the first two books were the same size dimensionally. This book is going to be a different size. So depending upon what size, I don't know how many books I'm actually going to receive. I don't know how many they're going to come up with. But they're going to quote me a price, which is based upon the materials. And then also based upon how many times they run it through the printer. So you pay for all of that. But I don't. With the first two books, I didn't end up with the amount of copies that I ordered. It was always more.
Okay, and so you have one supplier, or do the covers and other parts of the book come from different suppliers?
Well, the first one I did a different place for the printing, a different place for the cover. The second book, the suppressed Shalamov book, which is now just. It exists, but it doesn't exist publicly anymore. You'd have to inquire about this very special, beautiful book. But that book, the covers, everything was done at the same printer who did because the printer can also do everything. This book is going to be different. I have a different idea for the cover to try and make it.
But is it going to be
just
orange?
Every book is going to be different. It's going to be white and orange.
Okay.
You'll see. I have a very different idea for this cover.
Will you include these old chapters where you explain a little bit the different forklift trucks and things like this?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I'm going to cut those out.
Okay.
Should I really have descriptions?
Because you could extend this chapter 2 with the different type of trucks, because at the beginning you were only a forklift truck driver, and now you're driving these big trucks, right? So there's a lot of knowledge that the reader might want to have too about big trucks, not only the forklift ones.
Yeah, but that's unrelated. The big trucks.
No, because also... because you changed your life from a futures trader to become a working class person, and these machines, they are part of your existence as a working class person. I don't know. I like it somehow.
It's true, but I know, but I think you and I both understand the unity of my progression. That I went from futures trading and living a big life in New York, and all of the things that all these people view as being successful and aspire to. Like I had them, and then giving that up, and actually taking a very low job and humbling myself, and then seeing something more clearly, seeing life more clearly as a result of that. And then the next steps, which were, Alaskan fishing and now truck driving. I see it all as a progression, but I think that to put all of that into this book or even into the preface for this book is too much.
Yeah, as I told you before already, I think the reader should find out more about the author of these stories anyway, because without knowing or without having background knowledge of the creator of these stories, I think it's probably more difficult, or you cannot appreciate these stories the same way I do, because I know who wrote them, or I know the story of the person that wrote them, and I think that enriches the whole experience much more. So I think that chapters with the machines, but also some explanation or description of yourself would definitely add some value.
Yeah, I did a little bit in the preface, though, which you saw pretty much the final copy of that preface. I really want this book to be about a particular period, though. Mm. It was about I think subsequent books, if I put something out, because I do have all that writing from Alaska. I do actually have some truck driving stories. I don't know what I'm going to do with all of that, but maybe I don't know. I have to put all the other writing together at some point.
But
I'm not sure what form it will take.
Do you think there is potential?
I'll explain more.
Do you think there's potential for a second working class book for the logistics companies that you were working, or for Alaska, or things like this?
Well, the people that I've worked around, other than at the Home Depot, have not been as exciting.
Okay, so that was
you always ask me, where are the news stories about these people you work with now? And I have never heard stories like the ones at the Home Depot.
So the
Home Depot
the
stories,
ones you work with together right now, they are not the very, very bottom of society.
No, they're a step off the bottom.
Okay.
They're just people who are of perhaps higher intelligence, but they've fallen for all the same traps that get all the working class men. The working class people all are getting their wages garnished to pay for children that don't live with them, with ex-wives or ex-girlfriends, and they see very little of their paychecks. What little of their paychecks they see is taken also by banks for debts that they've gotten for big cars. They fall for all the traps. They have children with bad women, they have substance problems, and then they screw their life up and they go into lots of debt early on, and they can never get out of that debt. And they have bad diets, and they're unhealthy, and then they're miserable, and they're living with terrible stress. This is pretty much working people in America, and their lives are not really that interesting because they all fit the same model, which is they get trapped, and the traps are all laid by the wealthy bankers and the system that wants to entrap them, and they fall for it.
But I'm curious, why do the people of the very, very bottom of the society, why do they end up working at Home Depot? Why is this company choosing these people?
Well, it's a very low paid job. It's a minimum wage job.
So there's definitely other companies that have a very similar type of employees.
Right, but where I work now in truck driving and logistics, you have to be a little bit better than those Home Depot people. The skills required are somewhat higher level skills. You have to.
Yeah,
but
it was your starting point in the new career, right?
I don't know if you can call it a career. I think part of the it's an anti-career. But
but you enjoyed. I never hear you complaining about working in these jobs. It's fascinating because I'm now in this job for 3 weeks, and for me it is hard. Seriously, oh my goodness.
But physically, or
I mean physically, I'm a fit person, but I make 20 kilometers a day. I'm the picker basically. You get this pick list, and then you have to collect all of these items which
like an
which
order picker.
Sorry,
like an order picker, like an order picker. You have an order, and you have to go get all the things.
Yeah, I think I collect 800 items in 8 hours, and I make a lot of mileage. Yeah, I really walk all the time and fast, so I don't have to lift heavy things. But yeah, in general, working I work from 8 to 5. I question this lifestyle so much already. It doesn't matter if you do physical labor or if you work in abstract office jobs. It's all the same bullshit. We live a life that is just not. It's nonsense.
But it's not though. It's not complete bullshit what you're doing.
Mm.
I view it as like this kind of job is. I don't view it as work. I view it as working out.
Yeah.
And I try and physically get stronger by doing things faster, more gracefully.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to improve. Even last night, I had to move something on a forklift, which I am a master forklift driver. I find someone in the world who's better than me. You won't. There's even video proof of me up in Alaska.
And that's years ago, right?
But I am a master.
You must have.
I was surprised.
Much better already.
Oh, I'm even better than I was then. But last night, I was befuddled. I had this trailer, and they had these massive axles with disc brakes that were terribly wrapped, and they were set on top of each other in the back of the trailer. I don't know how they got them in there. It was terribly the trailer was loaded terribly, and then the truck driver drove probably, a little crazy, and the load had shifted. I didn't, and the pallets were all smashed and broken. There's pieces of wood everywhere. I was literally sitting looking at the back of this trailer because I needed to get something in the front of the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to take this stuff out of the back. I couldn't figure out at first how to do it. I'm staring at it, and other forklift drivers come by and they look at it, they shake their head. They're like, "Oh man, what do you do with that?" Nobody knew. And so I'm thinking, Peter, you're a master, but you're a master. How could this stump you? There's got to be a way to get this thing out without destroying it. And so I did figure out a way to do it. I got there's a forklift with very long blades, and this allows you to get deep under these long. Yeah, well, you could put extensions on them, but then there's also forklifts that are made with very long ones.
Oh, okay.
So you get the long blade one, and so I was able to get deep under the axles. Unfortunately, there was nowhere to pick it up from though. So then I slipped a pallet underneath. And then I pulled the blades out, and then I went under the pallet that I'd put underneath the axles, and I was able to pick it up. It worked out fine, but it took me about 5 minutes to figure it out. But so anyway, you get these surprises still, and these are more interesting surprises than you get a computer virus on your Excel and you have to redo it. I mean, think of the spreadsheet people. I mean, they don't have anything exciting like this, where people walk by their spreadsheet and go, "Oh man," shake their head. What are we gonna do now? But anyway, I view this as
actually Excel challenges are one of the more interesting challenges in office life, because this is where you really have to think logically. And maybe if you're a coder and work in front of a computer all the time or a computer screen, I think that's not abstract work actually, because you're very, very logical. You have to be a very logical thinker, and Excel to a certain extent is the same. Yeah.
Right, but you're not going to sweat. You're not going to sweat.
Yeah.
You're not going to bleed.
Yeah, but anyway, I envy you for being able to drive a truck. It's not necessary in my job. I wouldn't be able to do it anyway because I'm already a bad car driver. But I was thinking, I was remembering that you said you're even thinking about adding to your 13-hour days you work, I think now, a weight vest, so the colleagues will even think more that you're a crazy guy. That would not be possible for me. I could not wear a weight vest.
You work up to it
for my job, because I make
could add. Yeah, but after you get really good, you're just starting right now. But after you get really good at what you're doing, you're really efficient.
Yeah.
You should start wearing a 5-pound weight vest.
No, I don't think so.
just ramp up the challenge. That's what I'm looking at.
I'm eating so much because I need so much calories. It's crazy. I'm getting skinny again.
Well, it's a good job. Yeah. I like the sound of this.
Yeah, but I will do it only as long as necessary. I don't want to work anymore. Seriously, it's just not a lifestyle a human being should have. I think working from no, I'm completely on Ted Kaczynski's side when it comes to this. We should not have these lifestyles. We should be hunters and gatherers and live in nature.
Well, I mean, if you look at it, you're going to drive yourself crazy though if you go to work every day thinking this is ridiculous. But
this is what
you have to find
happened.
Some positive
this is
value
what happened
out of
in the past already anyway. All the time, when I was 27, I was so depressed. I worked in office jobs, and then I had to just travel around the world because I was so depressed, because I was wondering what is this all about? You work from Monday to Friday. On Friday on Monday already you look forward to Saturday. On Sunday you already think, oh my God, tomorrow is Monday. In the last few years, I had some working class jobs, or one working class job that I liked very much. I was pushing wheelchairs at the airport, and it was a wonderful job because I always said, I don't make any difference if it's a Monday or a Saturday. It just doesn't matter because I like going to work anyway. And I think these are the jobs when you don't look forward to the weekends. These are okay jobs, and I was lucky to have some of these jobs. Unfortunately, I cannot go back to a job that I left because of the coronavirus, or I had to leave because of the coronavirus. But this one is definitely one of them. I cannot do much more at the moment anyway, so I will try to look, or to have the perspective to see the positive sides of this job. But I will just only do it as long as necessary and as long as possible.
But all of the I view it as a particular challenge, though, a way to it, to get better, to get stronger. And when you have these jobs where you could very easily become very negative about them and look forward to the weekend and dread going to work on Monday. This is what common people feel about their lives. They love Friday, they hate Monday, they're always living for the weekend, and it's this terrible cycle. And I look at that and I say, wait, why would I want to feel that way all the time, have this roller coaster of a week? Why wouldn't I just decide that I love my job? I love the dirty aspects of it. I love all of the terrible things about it. And so I embrace all of the most difficult aspects of the job, and I want to do them even better, and I want to do more of them. And if someone doesn't do their job right, I'll go in and I fix what they did.
Yeah, you said that already.
Nobody sees it. Nobody sees what I'm doing, but I see it. It's. I feel like I'm becoming more honest. I feel like I'm becoming stronger and more honest and more disciplined. And I'm also realizing that it's completely up to you whether you like something or dislike something, or you can change the mood of something just by how you approach it. And so many people I work around, they have such misery with this job. They hate getting on the forklift. They hate doing it. I mean, that trauma, it's just horrible. So their lives are miserable outside of the work, and their lives at work are miserable.
No, but God, that's, for me, it's by far,
way to live.
But for me, it's by far not as bad to go to this job in the morning compared to office jobs in the past. That's definitely not the case. I ride my bicycle just a little bit less than 10 minutes to work right now. And I really enjoy riding there, being in nature, because I'm in the countryside. That doesn't disturb me at all in the morning. and also during work, because I'm so busy, I don't think very much what I'm doing there. I would have liked to be able to think more, or to use my brain for private stuff, but I'm just so busy with trying to find stuff that I cannot relax during work actually. And this is actually something that I wanted.
The time probably goes by very quickly.
Yeah.
When you're under pressure like that to get things done.
No, it is totally fine. I'm very glad, lucky, and kind of happy that I have it. But as I said, I will only do it as long as necessary. Working from 8 to 5 is definitely not something that we should do.
I agree.
For the rest of our life, until we can retire, because this is what people do nowadays. They work and look forward to the retirement.
Well, they've I'm speaking about these traps. Another one of these traps is you buy a big expensive house and you have to pay all this debt, so you have to work until you're very old.
Yeah,
I mean these are all these tricks that people fall for. Yeah. And you can't buy big cars, you can't buy big houses, you can't have children with bad women, you can't get divorced when you just are unhappy with someone that you used to love. You can't do any of these things. You can't have a bad diet and get sick. You can't. I mean, there are all these pitfalls that will destroy your life and force you to have to work until you're dead. And these are all the traps. Everyone around me basically has fallen for one of these traps in one way or another, or all of them. And the Home Depot people fell for these traps. The people I work with now have fallen for these traps. I am trying always not to fall for these traps. One of the things is I have a great diet. I keep myself in shape, and I don't ever go into debt. That's just been something I never do. So I'm able to use this job and to become wealthy because of this job. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm not making the money I used to make when I was a trader. But this is better. As a trader, I used to make $2,000 every day in like an hour, and I would just then get drunk. And that to me was just life. And you can make $2,000 in an hour.
Yeah, but I mean,
and that seemed.
I'm sure you could go back to this job and still be this frugal person that you're right now. I know you have a jazz record addiction, but at the end of the day, you're a very frugal person. It's expensive. I think. And you would still be a frugal person even though you had a lot of a very high income.
But one of the things that I realized, though, is I actually much prefer having to struggle over a long period of time for income rather than getting $2,000 an hour. That screwed me up. Yeah. That screwed me up making money that fast.
Yeah, it's honest work.
I lost my direction because I made that money so fast. Now, like, I know it's going to be so slow that I'm going to make money. It's just so slow. I just have to every day just chip away.
Maybe it makes these people more honest people in general as well. I mean, they have their flaws. Oh my God, my colleague or colleagues, one in particular, he's the most. And this is something. I mean, I enjoy being surrounded by people that are politically incorrect, or that are not. Where I don't need to be political correct, because I have a very dark kind of humor, for example, and with me you can talk about everything. I have some friends where I know, okay, it's not possible to talk about everything with them because they are easily upset with something. Let it be global change or migration or whatever. I'm not a right wing person. I'm probably much more a left winger than a right winger, I would say, but I'm much more realistic than left wingers, I would say. But this guy is the most politically incorrect person I have ever met, I think, and it's somehow refreshing because they just don't think what they are. If they could offend somebody, but it is already at a level that I did not expect to experience in Austria.
Is it on purpose, or is it?
No, I mean,
it's just natural.
I think he's not even a bad person, but he's really he still adores Hitler, for example. No, really,
Really?
it's incredible. I mean, this guy is crazy. But I
Adores
don't
Hitler.
even know where he gets where he got socialized like this. It's very. I was thinking about this. How is it possible that a person actually that is okay? You know, he's not a bad person. He's not treating people badly. He's very friendly to me, and he knows that I have a very different political opinion, and I tell him, you know, I think that's a little bit too much. You should not say these things around other people or
Like
most
what?
people.
Give me an example. Give me an example.
What?
Give me an example. I want to hear more about what does this guy say? What do you mean adores Hitler?
No, no, it's so bad. So, for example, you know, there are these the refugee camps in Greece, which one was burning down, and of course, European countries are now discussing, okay, how can we solve this immediate problem of a camp that was on fire, because now these people are sleeping on the streets. I don't know if you hear these things.
Right. I heard about it.
America.
It burned down.
And
yeah,
I am this type of person that says, okay, even though maybe it will accelerate migration, but these people are sleeping now on the streets. So, in my opinion, it's very, very necessary to help these people sleeping on the streets right now. Even though you send maybe a signal, but these people are suffering right now, and I think it is our responsibility as a human being to help other people that are in the need of help. But he just said, "Oh my!" He said these old Nazi concentration camps, they are empty anyway, so maybe we should send them there and send some gas. It's really incredible. I mean, this is the worst stuff you can imagine.
He wants to put them in the old concentration camps,
you know,
because they're empty.
I mean,
they're museums.
He's
we could use these museums.
This is not. He's kind of joking, but if somebody is making these jokes, especially it's coming all the time, then you know. I mean, he told me he has this very certain political attitude. I told him already. Okay, I don't even want to know what stuff you have collected in your basement. Yeah, he's incredible. He's my supervisor.
Really? You have a Nazi as a supervisor.
I don't know. Maybe he's just talking. You know. I mean, yeah, stuff like this. But yeah, this is. But also, you know, he's a sexist you cannot even imagine.
But don't you have like human resources people who are trying to be politically correct, that they would catch someone like this and fire them?
No, but it's a small company, you know. We have
that's probably
12
why.
people only, 12 employees.
That's
and you know, we're here in the deep countryside. There is no such thing. Even the type of feminism that exists in the cities, for example, that's not very common here in these small villages. All these things. It's for me. It's very hard to interact with the people because they're from a different world, it seems. But as you know, the city people, I cannot interact with them either because they are from another world too, and I don't belong to. I don't belong to this group or to this group. I'm just an outsider of
that's how I feel as well.
Yeah.
I don't. These working people, they bore the hell out of me. They're. I mean, I can't. It's very hard to talk to them, but I do. I mean, I appreciate their honesty and their. When I say honesty, though, I don't mean that they always tell the truth. I just mean that they don't aspire to be something more than what they are.
Yeah, they don't pretend to be somebody
that
else,
the low,
which they think others want them to be. You know, they don't care about clothes.
When you meet
they don't.
When you meet
Instagram
the middle manager
accounts and all this kind of stuff, my colleagues.
Mm-hmm. But when you meet those middle management people, those people that think that one day they're going to be the assistant CFO, the assistant this, and they're angling and they're saying bad things about their competition for the position, and they're building themselves up, and they make these resumes, and these resumes are just filled with lies. The reality is, if you want to be successful in capitalism, you have to become a self-promoter and a liar. That's what all of these people are.
Yeah.
The only people who are truly honest about themselves in the capitalist system are the people at the bottom, because they say, my life sucks and I suck, and this is why I work at the Home Depot.
But there is some individuals which are, for example, I have one female colleague, and she's a bad person. She's talking about other people when they made some mistakes and stuff, and she's not talking in a nice way about others, and that's just something I don't like in a warehouse, which I don't like in an office or in wherever. You find evil people in these low-paid working class jobs too.
Oh, for sure. When I say they're honest, I don't mean that they're not telling lies about themselves. They do.
Yeah.
But at least in their positions, and they're not like trying to screw the other worker over to get ahead, because they're not going anywhere. They're honest in the sense that they're at the bottom, and they accept it to be at the bottom. Because the worst dishonesties are the pettiest people are these ones who are just trying to get ahead in a corporate setting. That's one reason I could never do those kind of jobs. Even as a trader, the good thing about trading was, if you could trade well, then you're a trader. If you stink, you're fired, and you got to go do something else with your life. So it's like a professional athlete. You have to perform. If you can't perform, you're just finished. It's over. So it was honest in that sense, that you knew every day what you did. You either made money or you lost money.
Yeah.
But you don't want to make too much money. That's the other thing. You don't want to make too much money. Making too much money is a real problem. Everyone thinks that it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. No. It's better that all the money you make, you had to kind of suffer for, and you remember where you made it.
I think so too. But then there was this guy, I read about him today. He was this old guy, 89 or something, or I think he's still alive. But he was this founder of a duty-free company, and he had he had $8 billion or something, I think, already in the early 80s or late 70s. And then he tried to have a luxurious life, and he just didn't like it. And then he moved to a small apartment again, where he has to pay rent, and he had only one pair of shoes, and this life he liked so much better. And then he decided, okay, I give away all my $8 billion, and I think in the last few days all of his money is gone now, and he donated it for various organizations and goals over the last 40 years. And he just suggested to other billionaires, do the same. It will make you much, much happier.
Yeah.
So I can imagine.
I've only known one. I actually met a billionaire. I knew one billionaire. I knew the guy who invented the barcode.
Okay, interesting.
In New York, I would sometimes. I mean, I didn't know him that well, but I would hang out with him because he was friends with some friends of mine, some good friends of mine then.
But how did you feel? Because you also told me, because when you realized, okay, it's so easy to make thousands of dollars within just a few mouse clicks, because you told me you became a very arrogant person, and you tipped people a couple of $100 for a drink that was only $15 or something like this, because you knew it doesn't matter anyway if I spend $100 on tips now, because I just sit down and make a few mouse clicks, and then I earn so much more. So it to me it seems money even corrupted you back in the day. So I definitely can imagine that sweating and working hard for a little bit money is a much more appreciative way to earn money. But on the other hand, I don't know how this feels to have a lot of money, but to share the money you have with others that actually need it. Maybe that's a very satisfying thing too.
Yeah. That's one thing I didn't do with my money. I used it to fuck with people and screw with them and make fun of them for wanting money. But I never gave money away to people who probably deserved it, or I should have done something more like that. Basically, been in service to somebody else. When I say arrogant, I meant that I was still a very egotistical, very individualist. I became a product of the capitalism, that I was just out for myself. Really no different than an Instagram person, nothing like that. But I was just using different methods to brag, show off, to show my superiority to people. Not that I was wealthier, but that I didn't care about money. It's even a worse kind of superiority to go up to poor people or people that are bartender and tip them so much, or some shot girl in a club and make her feel so good because she just got $100. And then I'm laughing about it. That's terrible. That's using money to lord yourself over others. It sounds like this guy who used money though to be of service, which is selfless, and which is the opposite of what I'm talking about. To be selfless with money. That's probably the hardest thing to do, because you're working within capitalism and you're trying to not draw attention to yourself, to not.
Okay.
Yeah.
But speaking of the ego, how is your other project coming along? Your philosophical approach of the ego of the modern people.
Well, I see a unity with what I'm doing philosophically, even with the Home Depot stuff, because that was the first shot at my ego and the first shot at really attacking the capitalist individualistic view of life, which is take a working class job and learn to love a working class job and learn to really hardly make any money at all, and stop and humble yourself. And it's all a progression. And I think that it's shown me, with hard work, with being selfless, it's possible to be selfless with this kind of low-level hard work, because that's really the only way you can enjoy it. It's a hard, yeah. I'm still not ready to do to express the philosophical stuff, but it has a lot to do with working.
Yeah, but do you still work 12 hours a day?
Like 13 at least.
Holy
close
moly.
to 14.
But how do you find the energy to work on private projects after 13 hours of work?
It's hard. I'm still working at trying to, because then I come home and I work out. Andreas, I piss vinegar, man. There's an expression in English, pissing vinegar. It means like you're a real man.
Okay.
Like I'm just trying to see like how much I can actually do before I break. And I've come to a new conclusion. At first I was thinking I needed 6 hours of sleep. Now I think I need 7. I've been experimenting adjusting my sleep time, because I've got some tendonitis in my elbows, and I need that to stop. Because I had another project this year, which was to do one-arm pull-ups. I was training for one-arm pull-ups since the beginning of the year, and this tendonitis is.
How else do you want to make them?
Can't do pull-ups. What?
How else do you want to make them?
Whoa, pull-ups with 2 arms? I know, 2-arm pull-ups are for losers. Losers. What kind of man are you? What kind of girly man are you doing 2-arm pull-ups?
No, I think that's hard. 1 arm, whoa.
But I got to.
But
anyway,
push-ups,
this tendonitis.
one arm push-ups are easy.
Oh yeah, those are. I do them without any arms at all. No, so anyway, I this week I started my new experiment with 7 hours of sleep, and I feel like my body is repairing better. I felt more energy at work. So I got to cut things out though to free up an extra hour of sleep. And I think there's a bunch of nonsense that I do, like, reading about the riots on the internet. Like I don't know why I'm reading about that.
No,
garbage.
but
It's all
I
fake
think
news
it,
anyway.
it is
I need to stop
it
reading
is
that
important
stuff.
to read the current news, because you have to make a decision at some point. I mean, we're talking about this for a long time already, that it's probably good to become independent from society and the system, and just live quite remotely, and try to be self-sufficient as possible. So at some point you will have to make the decision, because in the big city, it's probably getting more and more violent in the US, and it's I also don't think it's getting better in the near future.
I think it'll get worse.
Yeah.
But the question is, like, do I really need to spend every morning, waste an hour while I'm drinking coffee after I come home from work, reading about last night's riots in Portland and looking at video? Like, they've been rioting for 100 days. I mean, what's the big? I know they're gonna riot. They're gonna walk out there with their umbrellas and their Molotov
Yeah, but
cocktails.
maybe one day there's something even bigger happening than just these riots.
Well, history shows us what will happen next. I don't need like
No,
to read
if you spend time
internet
on this stuff 10 minutes a day, I think it's totally fine, sufficient.
Well, that's 10 minutes of sleeping time, which I could use. 10 minutes of repair while I'm sleeping for my body, which will make me a little stronger for work and for working out. And when you work 14 hours a day, you don't have a lot of time.
Yeah, maybe you should reduce the working hours too.
I look, it's by choice that I work 14 hours a day. I could work 6 hours, but I choose to work the 14 hours, and it's a personal challenge to see if I could do it, for one thing, and I want to try and do everything. I want to try and make all the books, do all the writing, do one-arm pull-ups, and work 14 hours a day, and piss vinegar. That's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, as I get older, I realize that I start thinking, I'm wasting a lot of time. I'm really undisciplined. I'm very self-critical. I say, wow.
No, I take it more. I take it more and more easy. The older I get, I have a cigarette every once in a while, and I think, it doesn't really matter. This little addiction, it doesn't matter. Eating unhealthy food, I burn these calories anyway. My how do you call it? Metabolism is incredible fast. So all of these things don't matter to me. I'm not very disciplined. I would like to work less than 8 hours a day from Monday to Friday, but I can save some money for my future. However, future will be as well. And at the moment with coronavirus, there's nothing else possible anyway. Hopefully, the freedom will come back soon. But
yeah.
No.
Well, there's also I've also accepted that perhaps all of this hard work that I do to slowly make a little bit of money, and I want to get to West Texas, and I want to have this house and all that, perhaps there'll be terrible inflation and all of this money will be destroyed.
Yeah, this is what I think
that
too.
All this hard work, but I have to accept that all of this hard work may be for nothing at all. It may just be totally annihilated by political and economic forces that are much greater, because I'm working within a system, and so I need to find value in my work that's more than just the economic value, because that's also a kind of a self-protection, so I won't be miserable when it's all destroyed. I'll say, you know what? Yeah, all the money's gone. It's worthless.
Yeah, but then
at least I'm stronger. At least I'm stronger and more disciplined.
I think it would be a good idea to invest this hard-earned money in a nice little piece of land.
Oh yeah. I mean, and
wasting it on purpose, I think, doesn't make much sense. I mean, we are both not supporters of the money-driven system anyway. But I think because we're working, or at least I work in this job to be able to buy some freedom, basically, for the future. So I have to make these compromises now and work in these jobs, but As I said, I only want to do it as long as necessary, and I hope in 2 years it's all over.
But I used to think that you had to buy your freedom. That's why you had to work. And now I don't think that at all. That's one reason I got into trading, because I was living in poverty in Paris, and I thought I'd make all this money quick, and then I would be able to go back to my writing, and I'd have a different life, and I could create and not have to worry.
Yeah, but I think the secret is, and I'm very good at this already. Not spending money. I mean, there's so little you need actually,
yeah.
And
exactly.
I mean, there's so much more potential to improve this. If you have skills to grow your own vegetables, not to spend money on rent, because you have a piece of land where you build your own house, a little house, as small as possible, and as big as necessary. I think this is the best way you can do things. And most people are
right.
not capable of doing this. They just spend money. They earn more, than they spend more money on bullshit they don't need. They even, the more they spend, the more things they buy, which are even more useless than the things they bought before. They had the increase of the salary.
But it's very simple. I look at it. It's a question of discipline. You want to get rich? Don't spend money. Mm-hmm. You want to get healthy? Don't eat bad food. You just have to say no to all of the traps. Mm-hmm. These are all the traps that catch everybody. And it's not even that they spend their whole paychecks. They spend their future paychecks. And they do that by they get their first credit card when they're a teenager, and they blow out their credit, and then they're paying for interest for the rest of for their lives in one way or another. Yeah.
But this is how human beings live anyway. I mean, we live off the resources of the future generations. This is what we're doing now.
Right.
Maybe
it's a very abstract life. It's very abstract.
Maybe it's also a very egoistic approach how to live life.
For sure.
Yeah,
and all these working class people, one of the other reasons that I got into the working class jobs was because I wanted to see if you could really be successful with a low level job. And the idea was that if you can always get work, well, you can have the things you want. You can be able to travel. Like, I wanted to be able to write and be able to travel. And I hear all these people say, well, you can't do that. I need more money to do that. The reality is, no, you don't. You need to develop skills, for one thing. And you need to develop the ability not to waste your money and not get trapped. And so I look at these people, and they make all the mistakes, right? But if you didn't make those mistakes, how successful could you be? That was part of my experiment. When I was in Alaska, I was making $7.50 an hour. And that seems terrible, but the company paid for your housing, the company paid for your food. And so if you didn't spend any of that money and you were there for working for 4 or 6 months, and then you go on unemployment, and then you can live your other 6 months in Colombia, which is what I was doing. It became a very successful program. You were never going to get rich, but you could live a pretty good life and have a lot of time off. Yeah. So but you can't make mistakes. That's the reality.
Yeah. No, I totally confirm that it's very easy actually with a low income that is not even 12 months a year to be partly on the road and travel and explore the world. And just the rest of the year, 6-7 months, you just work in shitty jobs. I did it too. You just have to be, you must be able to live a simple life, and it comes along with side effects. Are they negative or positive? I don't know, but you're definitely not the partner of choice anymore for the typical woman of the 21st century, because even though I'm a very good-looking person, as you know,
oh yeah,
but women really care about
wow, it's true.
How a man earns his money.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's
at least in the West, in exotic countries, you still have the advantage of a foreigner that maybe could provide them a better future, or also the people like or many people like even my racist colleague. He also asks me all the time about some Latinas and Asian women and stuff like this. So he's very open to things like this too. Even though he's a very open, racist person.
He's a Nazi, but he's open.
So people like things they don't have at home.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But I don't know.
Well, I'm going to continue with the Home Depot stuff, and this is going to conclude that chapter. I think of my life. I'm never going to return to it, and I'll send you a book when it's done. But maybe a couple more months. I'll have to wait.
Okay. Yeah, I have plenty of stuff to read at the moment anyway. The one reason why I could have, I'm sure it would have been easier for me. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I sent only 10 job applications, and 2 jobs I could have got, and the one I'm working now was the better choice because I can ride my bicycle there. And the main reason why I took this job, I thought I can think during these 8 hours every day, because maybe I will try to write a book myself. It's going to be a process over a couple of years, but that's one of the reasons why this job seemed to be
Well, there's no one of the things is you should realize there's no rush to writing that book. The book you want to write is that.
That's true.
I used to feel rushed about all these projects that I wanted to do, but now I don't really feel rushed anymore.
Yeah.
I feel that especially the philosophical ones, they take a lot of time, and you also need to go and explore places physically to be able to discover things. And so the book, you don't want to write before you've done all of your exploration and all of your research.
Yeah, definitely.
It may be possible to write something, but you might have to change it later, and so there's no rush.
Yeah.
So it's like a life's work.
Yeah.
That's how I view the philosophy. It might only be something I publish at the very end of my life, or maybe never at all, like your fellow Austrian Wittgenstein.
He never finished some of his stuff?
No, he never published anything except for that first book, the Tractatus, which he later rejected. But all of his other books that were published were all done posthumously. He never felt comfortable with any of them.
Okay.
Some of them were ready, but close to ready to be published. But he would always withdraw them and say, "No, I don't have it right. It's not right." But like you, he felt that this was a dark, dark time. And people would never understand what he'd done anyway, so it didn't matter. That's what he said. The people for whom this book was written will never read it, and the people who will read it is not for who this book is written.
Yeah, but
which is kind of like the Home Depot stories, You're, with the exception of you, Andreas, you were the one ideal reader, the one who could understand the work and the people, and it's strange that an Austrian would be affected by it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but this job made me realize again, oh my God, it is really a dark age we have to live in. For me, it is horrible to be part of the pinnacle of the civilized human being. Because, I mean, I think we were never that advanced technologically. We have so much knowledge, and yet we are still probably the most. I don't even know how to find words for how we live or exist on this planet. It's so destructive. We are.
But how much?
We are very evil creatures.
I was talking to a guy the other day, and he was talking about, he's this real Christian guy, and he's a very interesting person. He reads the Bible and quoting all this stuff. And anyway, he was saying to me, he was just saying, as kind of like it was obvious that we live in this very advanced civilization. And I said to him, I said, for you and your values, what has the new technologies that keep getting created, how have they made the family stronger? How have they, all the things that you value, how have these technologies strengthened these core values, these human values? And he looked at me and he realized none of these advances in technology have made us better humans and more human in the way that we've traditionally been human beings.
No, we're the worst humans ever existed.
Like, what technology has made the family stronger? None of it. It's only making the family weaker, breaking the bonds of the family.
It's not only the family. You know, there's each individual, or almost each individual on this planet, is getting a worse human than there is potential. I think every human. I think back in the day they used the potential which they had as an individual human being much more than we do nowadays. Now we are distracted by bullshit all the time, and this makes us just bad people in general. Or bad people, but you know, I don't know, weird people. We don't care about the future, we don't care about others. It's all about us and nonsense. And
well, I think that's one of the core tenet to me, and the central idea of capitalism, the way it's run in the West, is that you have to isolate the individual as an economic entity and make them selfish and make them consumers, because that makes the economy grow and the bankers get rich off indebtedness. And this creation of the individual, I trace back to particularly certain philosophers, and it's the motivating force for philosophy, and then in turn in capitalism. Capitalism, philosophy, all this stuff comes together. But even religious dogma has made the individual important. Like if you look at Martin Luther and the Protestant Reformation, that's the first time in history, in religious history of the West, that you have a guy saying you can have a personal relationship with God, that you do not need the community of the church and like a priest to help you with that relationship. It breaks the person away and isolates them. So you have all these isolating features that have come together in Protestant capitalistic Western life, and it's been twisted by governments and by corporations and banks to benefit a select few, and they've done it very well. These are the traps that everyone falls for, and it's not just working class people. There's middle class people, and even wealthy people. Remember that actor Robin Williams who committed suicide?
Mm-hmm.
He was giving all his money to all these children. He was forced to work as a slave basically in Hollywood because all of his money was already spent. You know, okay. All the ex-wives and the children were getting it. Mm-hmm. And so the traps are there for everyone. Poorest of the poor and richest of the rich. So yeah, but the individual is what it comes back to.
But this is one reason why I actually admire the people on the streets around the world at the moment. You know, because it's not the fight an individual is fighting. Let it be the Black Lives Matter protests, or in Belarus, or in Israel, or in Thailand, or in Australia, wherever in the world at the moment. Everywhere there is demonstrations and protests, and this is something I really admire. Here in Austria, you know, everything is still quite normal economically, and in terms of capacity of the hospitals and the measures. I mean, they're getting stricter now. People are very low-tempered, it seems, in Austria, so it takes a little bit longer that we get on the streets. But I admire these people very much for being part of a movement which is not based on the individual.
Yeah, but don't you think it is a little bit? I feel like they're complaining about not being able to shop at Saks Fifth Avenue and the luxury stores, so they start up a protest and they loot the luxury stores.
I don't know.
Aren't they just after the same consumer goods and the same
I mean, I don't know what the intentions are of the people, but I think a lot of people lost their perspectives, and so I definitely can identify with them, because I was I lost a lot because of the coronavirus. So when I hear governments making or taking these or introducing these new measures, then I always think, how can you do this? I mean, what is more important? Is it the lives of the young people that will not have perspectives anymore, that will have poor lives for the rest of their life probably? Or is it some 83-year-old that would have died in 2 months probably anyway, that will die because of coronavirus now? This makes me also kind of angry.
But there's a third way though. Is I feel that these protests and burning stuff down and trying to be a part of these mass movements,
that's
like
stupid.
like these people need to. This is an expression of ego to me that they would do this. Like, my life is not as good as it should be.
Yeah, but
you need to give up that. You need to get religious and realize that you can go live in a tent and create something and be of service to others. The oldest values still exist, and you need to recover them.
But
these people still want to be capitalists.
This is
They're
what
just
they do
frustrated capitalists.
in Belarus, for example, at the moment. They are fighting for the future of their children at the moment. They don't want to live in a totalitarian under a totalitarian regime. So,
but the future,
I
the
don't
future
think
of your
they fight
children
for themselves, and they don't fight with weapons. They're not rioting. They're not looting. They're not burning cars down. They try to do it. They do it as peaceful as possible, and the police is just the aggressor all the time.
But the future of your children should have nothing to do with who's the president or what is the economic system. The future of your children is what happens at the dinner table when your wife cooks and you sit down together and you talk to each other, and when you pray together. The future of your children is that. The future of your children is when you're with your father and he shows you how to do something. You work on something on your house. That's the future of your children. It's not complaining that something is too expensive and you're going to go out and riot and burn the thing down, or you're mad about black people, this abstract idea of black people being abused, or who's the president and he's corrupt. Who cares about all of that? The problem is that these people and these young people, they don't have lives outside of the system. That the real revolutionary act is getting outside the system and being able to game the system and play the system, just as you do, just as I do. We're a part of the system, but this is not the extent of our lives. We're doing other things. We're writing books, we're traveling, we're doing all this stuff, but we're not falling for the traps. All of these young people protesting have fallen for the trap, and they're a part of a mass movement, and they're contesting the system, which is, you've already lost. You've already lost because you are fighting for your identity within the system, and even if you want to overturn the system, you're still developing values and valuing everything based upon the system itself. You need to walk away. You need to find a way that the system disappears. And that's a religious aspect. That's a religious way of life. That's a small community, a local thing. That's
which is getting weaker and weaker. Even the family is getting weaker. I mean,
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's my whole, throughout all of this, and philosophical and all of this, I'm looking at, I'm saying, what is the real revolutionary act? It's not looting and burning down the government building. The real revolutionary act is walking away. And even walking away while you still seem to be a part of it, because you're living very quietly a whole other different life. And you're raising children in a whole other different way. You cannot fight the state. You cannot fight the mob. And when you fight these fights, you've already lost.
But maybe it's also not possible to raise your children the way you want them to become, because they are also influenced by other factors which are out there in the society.
The raising of the children is something I don't know how to do yet, and I'm troubled by that. I don't know. The whole question is, if I think the way I do, then I need to raise the children, and that's the experiment, right? I don't know. I don't have answers to that. The only answer is to just go off and do it.
I think if you already live somewhere in West Texas in the mountains and as remote as possible, and I mean, you sound like a Texan already anyway. You have a wife cooking for you and praying at the dinner table. I think living in rural areas is much healthier for the mental state of yourself and also for your kids. Probably
it's true.
You still can not manipulate them, but you still can raise them in a way. I think. I mean, I don't have experience with children or very much. That is not as corrupted by other factors. I think city children are destined to become, I don't know.
Well, yeah,
not the type of child I would like to have. That's for sure.
For sure. But the problem is with these technologies of communication that it's going to be so difficult to stop the city influence from even projecting to the countryside. I don't know. I don't have an answer for these technology
nature could
things.
Become a very balancing factor. You know, if you go out hunting and you go to beautiful rivers where you can go for dips, and you go hiking and exploring and taking pictures of butterflies and collecting stuff and building stuff. That enriches the lives of young people very much too.
Well, they've got to realize that there's something more exciting than Facebook.
Yeah.
And
I mean, Facebook is not exciting for the young generation anyway, but I know what I mean, yeah.
Well, hey, you want to wrap this up? We got it on an hour.
Yeah. It's a short one.
You think so?
Yeah.
Well, we can always do another one.
Yeah, okay.
We can always continue it. But, because I got to go to the bathroom real bad. I'm drinking all this coffee. Getting the shakes. Getting restless. But here, let's stop it in 5 seconds.
Yeah.
So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.